Welcome everyone, I'm Dale and this is Cinema Historia. A struggle to build a new railroad, an assigned engineer, and rebel bandits. This week we're going back to 1953 for an American Western film called Kansas Pacific, starring Sterling Hayden, Eve Miller, and Barton McLean. And this is directed by Ray Nazzaro. Our story begins this week in the early 1860s concerning a railroad being built in the West to the rapidly forming Confederation. The Kansas Pacific Railroad, if completed, could mean the difference between defeat and victory because it could well become the lifeline for the Union's Western military installments. Some Southern groups, therefore, took strong steps to see that the Kansas Pacific did not reach completion. With a fear of a civil war, General-in-Chief of the United States Army, Winfield Scott, makes arrangements to send engineer Captain John Nelson, played by Sterling Hayden, incognito, to complete the railroad in order to supply the Western Union outposts. At the work site, boss Cal Bruce, played by Barton McLean, daughter Barbara, played by Eve Miller, and Smokestack, receive a telegram stating a construction engineer is arriving in Rockwood today and is now in complete charge of the operation. An upset Cal, Barbara, and Smokestack arrive at the Kansas Pacific train station to pick up John, only to find him involved in a fight he tried to break up. Stone, a prominent man from the South, has stirred up feelings that are now running a little strong, and the local railroad workers would like him to leave town. Back at Stone's cabin, one of his men tells him that the railroad is hiring more construction hands, and 3 of his gang members return to town to get jobs on the railroad. Nelson, unknown who they are, hires them, plus more men to become railroad guards. Captain Nelson now begins dealing with saboteurs, including one of Stone's men who he fires, and trying to romance Barbara, who thinks he's out for her father's job. Nelson explains to Barbara he's not trying to take her father's job and not to resent him, as he's been sent to help build the Kansas Pacific Railroad as soon as possible. Meanwhile, when Stone and his gang find out that one of the supplies coming in is dynamite, they begin making plans. Smokestack arrives on time with the shipment, while 2 of Stone's men stage a fight diversion. Another blows up the dynamite, killing one of the workers, leaving fear amongst the rest. I'll bet it would. So, is it still love and bloom at the Kansas Pacific Railroad? Are there still 2 more cases of dynamite in their favor? And if so, does Nelson, Cal, and Smokestack use it to take care of Stone's railroad bandits? Released February 22nd, 1953, the film offers a fictionalized account of the struggle to build the Kansas Pacific Railroad in the early 1860s, just prior to the American Civil War. 83% of Google users like this movie, stating, built by bullets, dynamite, and blood-stained spikes, and a great railroad epic with a rousing music score. And yes, the music was by American composer, conductor, and arranger Albert Sendry, who was involved in the music for about 170 film and television productions. Amazing. And I did another Sterling Hayden film on my channel a while back, The Asphalt Jungle from 1950. It also stars Marilyn Monroe. Please click the link below. And our trivia question this week: was there a real Western hero who starred in our film? Was there a real Western hero that starred in our film? So a little more history and the answer to our trivia question coming up next. For history this week, I'd like to talk more about the Kansas Pacific Railroad. So the Kansas Pacific Railroad was a historical railroad company that operated in the western United States in the late 19th century. The Kansas Pacific began in 1855 as the Leavenworth, Pawnee, and Western Railroad, and was later reorganized in 1863 as the Union Pacific Eastern Division. It was a federally chartered railroad backed by government land grants. The construction of the line was motivated in part by the desire of the U.S. government to extend transportation routes into Kansas. It was the scene of ongoing conflict between future Union and Confederate sympathizers, even prior to the start of the American Civil War, which was between 1861 and 1865, what was called Bleeding Kansas. The company began construction on its main line westward from Kansas City in September of 1863, and in 1864 the first 40 miles or 64 kilometers of the line to Lawrence was in operation. In the fall of 1866, the line had reached Junction City, which is where a roundhouse was constructed. In 1867, the line reached to Salina, and in March of 1869, the name was changed to the Kansas Pacific. At the same time, the Pacific Railway Act authorized large land grants to the railroad along its main line. Such grants were to be distributed to homesteaders who would populate the lands near the railroad, forming towns and providing the economic activity needed to support the railroad itself. During the construction, William F. Cody, yes, Buffalo Bill, was employed to hunt buffalo to provide meat for the track-laying crew. In 1868, a second phase extended the line past Denver to the Rocky Mountains, and with the backing of German investors, the Kansas Pacific reached Kit Carson, Colorado in March of 1870, and its link from Kansas City to Denver provided the last link in the coast-to-coast railway network. The arrival of the first trains to Denver was 2 months after the completion of the Denver Pacific Railroad in June of 1870, and the Strasburg joining of the rails of the Kansas Pacific on August 15th marked the completion of a true coast-to-coast railway network in the United States. The railroad was consolidated with Union Pacific in 1880, and its main line continues to be an integral part of the Union Pacific network today. Interesting. And the answer to our trivia question this week, this one's interesting. I used to watch this show when I was a kid as reruns. Was there a real Western hero who starred in our film? Yes, Bandit Leader Stone in our film was played by American actor Clayton Moore. Clayton Moore is best known for playing the fictional Western character, the Lone Ranger, from 1949 to 1957 on the television series of the same name, and 2 related films from the same producers. Moore starred in 169 of the 221 episodes, was an occasional player in B-Westerns, and the lead in 4 Republic Studio cliffhangers and in 2 films for Columbia Pictures. Clayton has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, was inducted into the Stuntman's Hall of Fame in 1982, and into the Western Performers Hall of Fame in 1990. It was a great television show to watch as a kid, and if you're wondering, the railroad lantern beside me is from the Kemp Manufacturing Company in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And if you click the link below for the film I did a while back, Whispering Smith from 1948, I do the history of the railroad lantern. And I hope you'll click back here next week as well. We'll see you then.